I'm gonna climb to the top of Sparkle Mountain.
Yes, it's finally here, Sparkle Mountain. This is a weird song. Very weird, but very pop. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I teased this 9 months ago in my video called I Have Made the Most Magical Sound. And almost every day since then, I've gotten messages asking about this song. So I feel like maybe you guys like it. It's out everywhere now. There's links in the description. And next week, a huge music video is coming. I'm also gonna do a video breaking down the production and sound design. In this video, I thought I could talk about the writing and music theory because there's a bunch of really interesting things going on. I've also been meaning to just do more music theory videos on this channel, so I'm gonna start a new thing right now called Theory Thursday. It's not gonna be every Thursday, but you know, sometimes it was just the best name I could think of.
And I'm never gonna stop. You can't stop me now, you can't stop me now. I'm gonna climb to the top.
So the song started from this modular synth patch from that video. It's just arpeggiating random notes from C major through some delay and reverb. I thought it sounded like Sparkles. Working title for this song was Sparkle Song. And as I was playing with that patch, I came up with this bass line that I thought was really fun and kind of anchored and harmonized all those random C major notes. Now check this out. If I remove this D passing note in the riff, there's a couple interesting things that I learned about it after I examined it. Firstly, every note is a chord tone. In the first bar, you've got the notes of C major, C, E, G, and in the second bar, you've got the notes of A minor, A, C, E, and then in the third bar, each note is the root of a different chord, F, G, and C. So if this were an even cheesier production, or maybe if I had written this in a different era, it could be heard as this chord progression. I also didn't realize until long after writing this bass line that there's actually this really basic rhythmic motif that goes throughout it. It's the same rhythmic figure 3 times in a row. Da, 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 da. That's again without that little passing note, which I think is helpful, adds a little spice. Ba, 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 ba. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting because, you know, as I'm analyzing this really fun melodic bass line, I'm realizing that so many of the elements that make it up are quite basic and just kind of doing the job that they're supposed to do. And I think the regularity of it actually does help with the groove. You know, there's a repetition. I feel like I basically just said it's good that it's regular because that means it's regular. You know what I mean. Now in the second half of the bass line, we have a slight variation where on the A minor chord, we only play the A root note and then we move perfectly chromatically downward 1 semitone at a time to get to the F. So it's very satisfying, to me anyway, that it has the exact same rhythm as the first variation and there's the perfect amount of semitones to make that little journey. Remember that, we'll come back to it.
We arrive at the end of a fluxing path.
By the way, most of what I'm sharing in this video, I figured out after the fact. The songwriting process for Sparkle Mountain was actually very fluid and instinctual, and you know, I wasn't thinking about most of this technical stuff, but it's been interesting to go in after and kind of realize what kind of themes and structures ended up making up the song and looking at how they work together. Being in the thick of the songwriting process itself was actually super weird because I've never had this happen to me before, but there were so many points along the way where I just felt like this song is so dumb. Like using these goofy sounds, deciding to sing about sparkles, there's the yodel bit that we're about to get into, like just very weird, but I felt like there was something special in it and I'm very glad I just pursued it because wow. Case in point, I was just experimenting and thought maybe I should layer the bass line with some super heavy drop C tuned guitars, and it was another case where I was like, awesome or stupid. It's just such a happy riff that to play it with these like demonic metal sounding guitars seems like completely the wrong move, and yet it feels so right. By the way, in the production video, hopefully next week, I'll show you exactly how I got that guitar sound. I know you want to know. All right, so now let's get into the vocals. At this point in the writing process, I thought I had 3 sections. There was the bass line playing by itself, kind of a verse. There was the guitars doubling the bass line, chorus, and then I just had this 3rd section that I wanted to use that was like the sparkle button being pressed really fast. So believe it or not, I wrote a lot of this song while hiking on a series of small hills, kind of like some bluffs overlooking a nice lake. But I had mountain in my mind along with that bass line just looping over and over, and I was trying different melodies out with it, you know, kind of like ignoring my friends and just humming to myself. I'm really fun on hikes. So that's when I decided it's gonna be Sparkle Mountain. We're gonna be singing about climbing Sparkle Mountain. That's when I came up with that really fun, I'm gonna climb to the top. Worked out the whole chorus on that hike, thought it was really fun and catchy, and then again, later on, realized there's some really interesting theory stuff going on that we could talk about.
I'm gonna climb to the top of Sparkle Mountain, and I'm never gonna stop. You can't stop me now, you can't stop me now. I'm gonna climb to the top of Sparkle Mountain, and I'm never gonna stop.
Fun. So first of all, it bounces back and forth between two kind of different things. You've got this octave jump.
I'm gonna climb to the top.
That keeps coming back, and then it alternates with a couple different things. The first thing is this sort of slow climb from the second to the third degree of the scale, D and E.
A Sparkle Mountain.
And let me point out, those are microtones. I wanted to start on D, end on E, and kind of evenly creep up in between. So those are actually melodined to be perfectly spaced microtones. I don't know exactly what the cents are, but it's a slow move from D to E because that's how much space I needed to take. It kind of reflects that downward chromatic motion in the bass line, but this time it's going up, and because we don't have the exact right amount of semitones, we just, you know, put them in where we need to. So after that, we come back to another octave thing.
And I'm never gonna stop.
And then the next chunk of vocal is a more sing-songy kind of ornamental thing, but it does generally stay in slightly higher notes than the first one of these sections.
You can't stop me now, you can't stop me now. I'm gonna climb to the top.
Got our third octave jump thing there, and then here we have our third kind of in between the octaves section.
A Sparkle Mountain.
Another slow climb, but this one's going from E to G, so it's climbing a little bit further, but still it's not the right amount of semitones. So again, it was tuned to a perfect microtonal split between those starting and ending notes. So some really fun text painting going on, you know? When I'm saying the word top, I'm jumping an octave to a really high note, and then there's all these parts in between that are climbing. Each one's getting a little bit higher, and a couple of them are actually just specifically climbing from one note to another. And then the fourth time we do the octave jump thing,
And I'm never gonna stop.
we go past the octave, we do an octave and a major third, hitting a record high note so far for the chorus, but then we immediately break that record again by going up to the G. And that is the real highest note of the chorus, where we have ostensibly reached the top of this mountain. So I just love finding all these ways that the lyrics and music are supporting each other. And yeah, I didn't plan this out, you know, I didn't try to make this mountain climbing melody, but it just naturally happened as I was writing and vibing with this song.
Violet Valley, sugar like a daddy, never gonna stop till I get to the candy.
Now let's talk about the pre-chorus, another moment of, is this the dumbest thing I've ever worked on? So first of all, it's 4.5 seconds long, and I love that, you know, just in and out, the perfect little break. You wanted to stop from the verse, but not quite get to the chorus yet. Boom. And melodically, we've got another little parallel here, because in the chorus where we have, I'm gonna climb to the top, we're doing another octave here, but we're doing the fifth of the scale. Violet Valley. And yeah, my voice is kind of raspy today, but this was like my weird attempt at yodeling, which I don't know why I wanted to do that. It was inspired, and I ran it through little Alter Boy just to pitch shift it up an octave and make it sound all like weird and otherworldly. This is what it's like without Alter Boy on it.
Violet Valley, sugar like a daddy, never gonna stop till I get to the candy.
Little pitch drop on the end of that, and with Alter Boy.
Violet Valley, sugar like a daddy, never gonna stop till I get to the candy.
Weirdest pre-chorus I've ever written, but yeah, it's just octave on G, octave on G, octave on G, chorus time, octave on C. Two more interesting theory things. The first one is kind of a larger structural thing in that the bass line does something kind of idiosyncratic because it's playing that main riff in verse 1 and in all the choruses. So I felt like for verse 2 and the bridge, I should come up with something different. So it's a little bit strange that the bass line and the chord progression is different from verse 1 to verse 2, but it's identical from verse 2 to the bridge. Not usually how songs go. I'll play you verse 1 and verse 2. Basically, it amounts to a reharmonization and a different vibe of the verse melody.
I believe in a place where the griffins fly. And chrysanthemums taste like lollipops.
And verse 2.
at the end of a fluxing path, and wisteria form a magic door.
And then when that verse 2 bass line comes back in the bridge, it's just underneath a synth solo by Marty, aka Pusher, great artist who is also helping me with some of my mixing lately. And I asked him to do a synth solo on Sparkle Mountain, and I didn't give him any instructions, and he made it sparkly, and he also did some of that kind of like chromatic-y walking stuff unprompted. I guess he was feeling the vibe. My favorite thing is this little move at the end. There's different ways you could interpret that, but if I were to analyze it, I would say the bass line is playing an A minor and then an F minor, and then Marty's chord arpeggios on top are a C add 9, a B major 7, an F6, and then an F half diminished. Just crazy stuff. And so not exactly chromatic, but that same idea of moving in small steps from a lower place to a higher place or a higher place to a lower place. That is the Sparkle Mountain way. So go stream or download Sparkle Mountain. It's out everywhere. Links below. Tell a friend. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's anything you want to know for the production video that I'm doing next week. And also, hopefully next week, the music video will be coming out. Look forward to that. But you got the song in the meantime. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
I'm gonna climb to the top.